Welcome everyone to episode 55 of Talk Wrestling here on myspace.com/NoDQ Talk Wrestling, youtube.com/NoDQCAW, and the place where you got the best WrestleMania coverage if you were too cheap to pay for it, like a lot of people I talked to on Sunday, NoDQ.com. I was actually on the forums for part of WrestleMania on NoDQForums.com. It was very cool to talk to the fellow NoDQ forum members and to talk to the Talk Wrestling fans and get their thoughts. And shout out to all you guys. I promised I'd do a shout out to a couple forum members, but then everybody kept asking me. So big shout out to the NoDQ forum members who watch Talk Wrestling. We love you guys. I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to embed from YouTube the show on NoDQForums.com. I'll find out which forum that way I don't get in trouble with Brad or Paul Bear or whatever you want to call him these days, and we'll get the show on NoDQForums.com. Okay. Kind of a big deal this weekend in WWE. Of course, you had the Hall of Fame ceremony, you had WrestleMania, and you had the post WrestleMania Raw that have already happened. Let's talk about the Hall of Fame briefly. 13 different people went in, if you count the Von Erichs as separate people. Aaron and I talked about this. The thing that really showed the most was the acceptance speeches were much shorter this year, which I thought was kind of shitty. You're allowing these guys to be in the Hall of Fame, and you're putting these guys over as the true legacy of the WWE, and you're not giving them any time to accept their speeches, especially Ricky Steamboat and Steve Austin, who were on USA Network accepting their speeches. They got no time. Flair spent more time, and strutting all that shit, introducing him, than Steamboat did accepting it. And then Vince took forever to introduce Austin, and then Austin came out and spoke for like 10 minutes. I'm sure it'll look better on DVD. I hear they're going to do like interviews on WWE.com and interviews on the DVD as well. But the fact that they gave these guys so little time, I thought was kind of bullshit. Just my opinion. But see, here's the thing. When you say you're going to give these guys time to accept their honor and, get their little ring and like they did this year, you need to give them that time. And I think it's very unfair that they did that to the Hall of Famers. But speaking of unfair, for those of you out there that shelled out your $55 or your $65 like me if you wanted to watch high definition, you were robbed Sunday night. Absolutely robbed, because here's the thing. WrestleMania was not up to par this year. You had the WWE title match, which was very anticlimactic. A world title match, which was very predictable once Money in the Bank was over. Money in the Bank, which surprised everybody, but it was still a lackluster match. Chris Jericho defeating the Legends was half of a surprise to me. I kind of thought the Legends would win. The Extreme Rules match was complete crap. Matt and Jeff Hardy both did not give their best performances. The Twist of Fate on the Steel Chair was freaking awesome, though. Undertaker defeating Shawn Michaels was the match of the night, if not Undertaker's best match in his WrestleMania history, 17 matches. Intercontinental title match was a joke. They gave Rey Mysterio, who they're trying to showcase as a true main eventer, 21 seconds to beat a guy who belongs nowhere near a ring anymore in JBL, and he quit. So hopefully he'll go back to the broadcasting table with JR starting tomorrow night or whenever this goes up on Friday Night SmackDown. The Diva Battle Royal, all 24 of those divas were shafted, completely and utterly shafted. They got no proper introduction. You bring all these divas from the past to come back and get showcased at the anniversary show, and there's no intros. And the only time you hear about Sunny is when she got eliminated. The only time you hear about Tori Wilson is when she got eliminated. Joy Giovanni wasn't even mentioned, and she was there. Jackie Haas, Jackie Gator, whatever you call her, was there. Molly Holly was there. You saw Molly Holly very distinctively during the entrance in her classic Molly Holly outfit. And then who wins? Santina Marella. Okay, here's the thing about Santina Marella. That's ridiculous. I'm sorry. You bring all these divas back and you let a male wrestler, the joke of the company, win the Battle Royal and be crowned Miss WrestleMania. Where are they going to go with this? The only reason they did Miss WrestleMania, it seems like to me, was to further a storyline with him and Beth Phoenix and Rosa Mendez. And what it should be is Rosa and Beth against Santino. It's Santino, for those of you that haven't figured that out yet. 2-on-1, they should beat the crap out of him. Right, Jade? That's right. Jade agrees. No talking today on the show. I guess Jade's gonna be a silent party on the show today, but that's okay. And then the unified tag title match was ridiculous. How are Miz and Morrison? First of all, here's the thing. It wasn't even on WrestleMania. It was part of the WWE.com pre-show, and it's gonna be on the DVD. You don't get to see it if you want on WWE.com at whatever it was 3:30, which I usually am, and I forgot that shirt. And then here's the other thing: the wrong team won. Why are Miz and Morrison, the greatest tag team in recent memory, not being unified tag team champions? They lost 2 nights in a row. They lost at WrestleMania, and they lost on Raw. That's horseshit. Sorry. That's ridiculous. Terrible WrestleMania. It's just not worth $55, let alone $65. I'm very upset that I allowed myself to convince the rest of the household to buy it. Especially Jade, because Jade was gonna pay for half it with me, and I'm already absolving her of all responsibility, because it was not her fault that Vince McMahon can't produce the greatest WrestleMania of all time when it's an anniversary show. It's not her fault that Randy Orton and Triple H can't deliver a quality WWE title match. It's not Jade's fault that the triple threat match sucked.
It's not my fault that you kept bugging Mom and Dad for it.
It's not my fault. It's not her fault I kept bugging Mom and Dad to watch it. That's right. I could have watched it on this thing, but I'd rather watch high definition television than pixelated computers.
No, Mom actually accidentally did that on accident.
Well, no, I was gonna get regular TV. I understand that, but the fact that we got high definition was just a bonus.
Yeah, Mom didn't mean to do it.
I know that. Her fuck up benefited great if it had been a good WrestleMania, but it didn't. It was a terrible WrestleMania. One match, and it wasn't worth $65. I would have paid $20 for that match. Maybe even 10. But see, the thing is, Jade and I are going to go out this coming weekend and spend $100 to go see PWG. So, that's where our head is. 50 each, sitting front row. Hangs her head in shame. Oh no. But see,
the Young Bucks since the fall.
For the Bucks, that's right. Not for Bryan Danielson or Joey Ryan or Austin Aries or the return of the Motor City Machine Guns.
Joey fucked with me. I can't help that.
Hey, just because Joey did this onto your chair, that was funny. I just almost flew off the ramp. That was the best thing of the whole night. That was hysterical.
Only because I had his hairdo.
Yeah, that's exactly. But bottom line, the thing with WrestleMania is this. It was not the best WrestleMania. It was up there with one of the worst WrestleManias, because my friend Megan and I were talking about this. 9 was pretty bad, 11 was pretty bad, 13 was bad, 15 was bad. The odd ones have been bad through those years. And then 16 was bad, 2000, when my friends and I went, when Stagger Lee and I went. But 17 turned everything around, and they've been pretty good, except up until last year when I was there live. And the only reason it was good for me is because I was there live. And then this year, oh God. And I read these comments on my email and the show's email and the comment boards and everything saying how great WrestleMania was this year. And I really... And I hate to be this much of an asshole, and I'm sorry, because I know everybody's siding with me in the whole thing with the guy up there in Sacramento. But how can you consider this a good WrestleMania when you go back and you watch the WrestleManias of the past? And I'm not talking just about the ones since the Attitude Era ended and the brand extension began. I'm talking about the ones like WrestleMania, like Hulk Hogan and Mr. T against Piper and Orndorff. I'm talking like WrestleMania 3, Hogan and Andre, Piper and Adonis, Steamboat and Savage. I'm talking about like WrestleMania 5, the Mega Powers exploding. 14 matches in 3 hours as opposed to 8 crappy matches and 1 good one in 4 hours. That's ridiculous. There is no excuse to produce a crappy WrestleMania or a lackluster WrestleMania in this day and age when you've got so many people in the talent pool that can pull off a great match. It is unacceptable. Unacceptable. Huh?
Especially when it's scripted.
Especially, yeah, exactly. Dad made a very good point. Mom made a very good point. The whole thing is friggin' scripted, and they scripted it to be that bad. How terrible is that? That's ridiculous. I'm sorry. I'm so mad. And the thing is, I'm more mad that I paid $65 than that the show was bad. That's what makes me upset the worst. I paid $65 to see a crappy show. I'll gladly pay $50 to go watch a PWG live show because I know I'm not going to walk away from that pissed off.
Especially when it was his first.
Especially when it was his first PWG show. That's right.
No, WrestleMania.
Oh yeah. My son's first WrestleMania, and they produced that. Last year, WrestleMania this time, Jade was ready to pop, and I left her to go watch WrestleMania, and that was lackluster WrestleMania. I figured they'd make it up to me this year, but the thing is, of course they don't. Of course they don't. Horse shit. And then you go to Raw, where Orton comes out and blah, blah, blah. Rematch of the tag titles, blah, blah, blah. The draft is going to be next week. We'll talk about that on the show next week, by the way. We'll review the draft and see who went where, who did what did what, however you want to put it. Who did who.
What?
Exactly. Then you had the 10 Diva tag match, blah, blah, blah. The 10-person all-star match, blah, blah, blah. Steamboat impressed me. You know what? I said about WrestleMania. I'm sorry, I'll go back to WrestleMania and I'll talk about Raw at the same time. Ricky Steamboat impresses the hell out of me. He is older than a lot of guys you see on the current roster, most of them, as a matter of fact. And he's still doing stuff that he could have done 10 years ago, 15 years ago. He's impressive. Ricky Steamboat is staying in shape, and for a guy with a bad back, he's doing some amazing shit. Love Ricky Steamboat. Vicky Guerrero is the permanent general manager, blah, blah, blah. There's a 6-man tag team match at Backlash. Legacy versus the McMahons, and it is now for the WWE Championship, blah, blah, blah. Santina comes out and does a little... she comes out to Rico's music. And there's a question on next 2 weeks from now's show about that. I'll get to that in a couple weeks. It's just so ridiculous. Raw was terrible. And then let's see. Randy Orton beats Vince McMahon via disqualification.
That was actually a pretty good match.
I didn't watch that match because I was falling asleep.
It was pretty good.
Was it good? Okay. Orton goes for the punt. Shane McMahon interferes. Disqualification. Legacy comes out. Triple H comes out. Batista's music plays. Batista comes in and helps the McMahons. And Vince says it's going to be Batista, Shane, and Triple H against the Legacy for the WWE Championship.
TNA? Sounds like a TNA match.
Thank you. Exactly. Sounds like a WC or a WWF 2000 match. Remember that?
Yeah.
Vince, Shane, and Triple H again against The Rock, Undertaker, and
But like
King.
how TNA does the 6-man match with the title on the line.
Yeah, or WCW did a tag team title match not once but twice with the world title on the line, and one of the times Savage became world champion for one day until Hogan beat him the next night. Hogan. But yeah, don't you shush. He was still Hollywood Hogan, but he wasn't wearing the red and yellow yet. He was still wearing the Hollywood Hogan colors. He became Hulk Hogan August 9th, a couple weeks later.
His name was still Hogan.
I'm sorry?
His name was still Hogan.
Oh, who gives a shit? Well, I know you do. Okay. Anyway, that was the weekend. You know what should have been a monumental 3 days for WWE, 4 days for WWE, turned out pretty crappy. We'll see what happens with the SmackDown tapings in ECW in the next few weeks, and Raw in the next few weeks, leading into Backlash. But for right now, I am very disappointed with WWE's presentation. And it makes me upset that I paid that much money when I could have saved that money and got souvenirs at PWG. Got me a new Bryan Danielson t-shirt because I lost it at the show in Hollywood at the House of Blues. It was stolen. Anyway, this is 55. 56 will feature the draft. And then we'll get back to your question on 57 and 58. We'll see you next time.